The views presented in this program are not meant to express the specific views of the Lafayette Bible Fellowship. You are listening to the Vigilance Radio Network.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to Culture and Sanity. I'm going to say right up front that I have been trying to clear my throat for the last 15 minutes, so in no way is that a sign that I have coronavirus. And speaking of coronavirus, that's what today's show will be predominantly about, because that's all that you can get from the news in the last couple weeks. So welcome back to Culture and Sanity, and welcome back to the podcast, and here we are. I was checking out everything that we had been, compiling the last couple weeks in terms of news and pop culture, this and that, and just sort of came to the realization that anything other than what is flooding our news outlets and our world at the moment would seem a little contrived. So today's episode, as you might have seen on the Facebook, is all things Corona. So our show has been infected by coronavirus. So welcome to that.
I like to think of it as brought to you by Corona.
Brought to you by coronavirus. Yeah, COVID-19. So if you have any thoughts or input as we go along, feel free to share them. There's a lot of stuff out there, and we just want to sort of tackle it, section by section in the next hour, however much we can. So you might notice we're missing a member of our show here. He does not have it, although he is the oldest of us.
Well, if he had it, he'd be dead. So.
What?
Well, that's the mortality, right? That's the thing. Yeah, the old and infirm.
What's the percentage?
I know that obviously he wouldn't be dead.
I know.
Come on,
I know that the older generation.
I'm joking about him being old and infirm.
Yes, he's old, but he hurt his leg.
Infirm.
He hurt his leg. He doesn't have COVID, so. Hopefully he can get back to us soon.
So all you people who are staying away from him, because of the coronavirus, it's not true. He doesn't have it. You'll have to find other reasons to stay away.
Yeah. All right. So where to begin? First of all, kind of crazy times, right? The whole world seems to be shutting down, literally.
Especially in Portland.
Yeah. Oregon in general.
Yeah.
For those of you that, I guess you can't see because the camera, it's snowing and it's March.
I can turn the camera.
It's snowing and it's March.
Give me a second.
The second half of March. It was daylight savings time on Sunday. Yeah, there you go. Snowing in Portland in March. Daylight savings time was on Sunday. There are locust swarms in Asia and Africa. And coronavirus is sweeping the globe. So, strange times we're living in. So, anyways, where do we begin? What is going on? Why are people freaking out? So, top of the question list I have here is, because there's a lot of information, there's a lot of misinformation, of course, but one of the things that I wanted to talk about, and if you're listening, feel free to share what you think. But my question is this coronavirus, is this pandemic at this point, is it really as bad as the news would have you think, or is it more of a sign of how society deals with things in 2020? We live in kind of a freak out culture. So is there legitimate reason for the hysteria, or is it, or would you say it's more of a sign of just the times that we live in? If you're somehow have been living under a rock, the grocery stores are sold out of everything, just everything. Like, I was making a joke with my coworker the other day that you go into a grocery store and all the other stuff that you would have otherwise wanted, toilet paper, for some reason, like toilet paper is the big one.
That's a great one.
No, it's a weird one though.
You think so?
Yeah, because if it's really a situation where you're going to shut in for X amount of weeks or days or whatever, like, you could use a rag. You could use a rag.
I suppose that's
like,
true.
You really want to get food and like.
I suppose that's true. And for those of you who don't know, if you start fasting, that part of your body kind of shuts down for a while.
Yeah, Josh has been strictly on ketosis dieting lately, so.
For a while.
Yeah.
But but it also makes sense because it's like non-perishable.
Sure.
Right?
Okay.
I mean, you're always going to use it.
Yeah, true. So, yeah, like, so what I was saying, like, so if you've been living under a rock, grocery stores are stocked out. I was making a joke that you go to a grocery store and everything and you otherwise would have wanted is out, and so you see a pack of Legos and, well, why not? Just because I'm already here, you know? Like,
right.
People are literally buying everything. There was I was just sharing with Josh before we went live. My sister-in-law works in retail. She works at a chain of grocery stores. And she shared a funny meme that she says is completely spot on. And she said, working in retail during this corona pandemic is like being in the band that played at the end of Titanic as it's sinking. Mm-hmm, it's a losing battle, and all you can really do is say it's been an honor playing with you, playing alongside you, gentlemen. So
I still haven't seen Titanic.
Yeah, but anyways, back to the question. Like, is this something that we should really be freaking out about? Like, or is it more a sign of just how we deal with things as a society nowadays? What do you think?
I don't think it's something we should be freaking out about. There it is. I mean, you can't control the outcome of something like this other than to do things that you should have already been doing.
Yeah.
So if you stay diligent and if you stay diligent in common sense activities like washing your hands, for instance, I think it's crazy. It's just crazy that, like, as I'm listening to NPR, as one does, they're like almost like giving like a radio seminar on how to wash your hands. Like, what is that?
Well, yeah, like, speaking of to that point, too,
and it's not rocket science, by the way.
Yeah, no, it's not. There's no shortage of, like, myths out there regarding this whole thing and how to handle it, how to treat it, how to avoid it and stuff. So much so that, like, the World Health Organization had to, like, post, like, a Mythbusters whole section about the coronavirus. Like, people think that you can kill it by blow drying.
Weird
things like using a hair blow dryer on surfaces or even on your skin for that matter.
Oh wow!
Yeah, seems like a dumb idea, right?
Yeah.
Or like people are like bleaching their skin.
Okay.
Like people are going crazy.
You're definitely gonna kill something.
Yeah, they think that if you take a hot bath, you can get rid of it, or all these different things. They had to post ultraviolet light was another one. I don't know. Like, I don't know if people understand how viruses work versus, like, if there's, like, a virus versus bacterial, like, confusion or whatever. But it's interesting. But, yeah, like you're saying, just follow what you should be doing already. And you can...
Well, it's not like there's a vaccine for it.
Right.
So, like, I think that it's short-sighted the way people are acting. Be clean, be courteous. I sound like a 1980s commercial or something, like a rap. Be clean, be courteous. But be clean and be courteous, and don't freak out. And take normal precautions, and it should be fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw an infographic.
There's certainly not more you can do.
Yeah, and so what are you really going to do? People are like shutting themselves in and avoiding all of everything, and I mean that's just that gets into a larger question of like what's going to be the are there going to be like lasting effects of this, or like how we deal with things moving forward, just in general? Like, because things like this have happened, like in the last even. Well, let's go 20 years. There's been all these different things, norovirus and SARS, and all these different things. Even swine flu, bird flu.
Like, in my lifetime, AIDS.
Yeah. So like all these, just in the last 20 years, you can like these things ping up, but this one feels different, and like why is that?
Well, it's social media. It's localized event versus, or this isn't a localized event, but what I'm saying is those past things are fairly localized, whereas now we're interconnected and we're instantly connected. And so the concept of mass hysteria.
When you say localized, do you mean it in like multiple aspects, like localized in terms of?
I mean in communication.
In communication, okay.
Yeah, you have to go through proper channels to get information. As far back as, or as early, as recently as 10 years ago. I mean, think about it. People weren't carrying smartphones until 2009, 2008?
Something like that, 2008 maybe.
So, almost like maybe a decade ago-ish, Before that, people had to go through channels to, like now we pull up whatever information we want instantly and we communicate. Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and all of these different systems for communication. And so if it's a myth, if it's truth, if it is an opinion, all of those things have the floor immediately for whoever has the loudest voice. And unfortunately, in a system like this and in a world like this, the person with the loudest voice is going to be, the one that's heard. So I think that you have a lot of misinformation and a lot of misguided use of information feeding the populace, and then that causes there to be a need for more information from proper channels, and then the fact that the proper channels are giving more information feeds the idea that people should be freaking out. And I mean, it's kind of crazy. On Monday, Trump talked about how it's not that big a deal, and then on Wednesday or Friday, he declares a state of emergency.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Yeah.
So I think that's the state of communication, and we're no longer localized in the way that we communicate, and so that's the reason why I think Trump is under such scrutiny as a president. Also, no president, certainly other presidents have been worse than him in certain ways, but no president has taken advantage of social media, nor has lived under such a glass house before.
Yeah, for sure.
And then I think that's the same reason why we can even do this show, is because pop culture is this way. Like, I think about all the stuff that's going on with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. Like, are you paying attention to any of that?
Is that still going on?
Yeah, it's going on. So, Amber Heard accused Johnny Depp of
just
beating
domestic
her,
abuse,
basically.
Yeah.
But then, her phone messages came out. Do you know about that?
No.
Her phone messages came out that demonstrated audibly that she was absolutely abusive to him. And so now there's a call to cancel Amber Heard and to get Johnny Depp back on Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh my gosh.
And now Johnny Depp
I'm exhausted already.
Now Johnny Depp is being shopped to play Joker. Do you know that?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that's an interesting.
I know, it's a good casting choice, I think.
It's not bad.
I
could do worse.
I like Willem Dafoe though as a casting choice. Have you heard that one?
I mean, I haven't heard it, but man, I could see it.
It's that
smile.
toothy grin.
It's that toothy grin. For sure. Anyways,
I gotta post that.
How did we get to Amber Heard and Johnny Depp?
I gotta post. Sorry, I gotta post that Willem Dafoe gif. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, he's in a car or something.
It's classic.
Yeah,
he turns at the camera, and you're just like, what is going on here? That's what's on my mind right now.
How did we get to Johnny Depp and Amber?
How you got these people that it's not even okay, I found it and I'm posting it. Here it is. Imagine this in clown makeup, if I can get it posted.
You have these people.
There it is. You have these people's lives. It's like their personal lives, and immediately you're getting, okay, I need this off my screen.
You've done this to yourself.
I need it off my screen. It just keeps going back to him, like staring at the screen.
Because he does a quick turn.
And I can't remove it because it's in my control panel.
Someone flood the comments section.
Okay, anyway, here, I'll maximize the other screen. So, yeah, you have these people's lives, and they are, on display. They're just on display all the time, and it's like personal stuff, and it changes from moment to moment to moment. And so, yeah, when you have something that's a legitimate issue, of course it's affecting, that way of living in constant communication about ideas and not necessarily even facts is going to affect things. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So are we gonna get, I mean, we're not big enough. Let's not kid ourselves, but say, we were a little bit bigger even, would we get roasted over the fact that you just said, or we both agree that this is not really a reason to be freaking out?
I don't think anybody cares what we're saying.
That's what I'm saying. I'm under no illusion of that either.
I don't think anybody cares what we're saying.
Why would we get, slammed over downplaying it or,
Look, I'm not saying that it's a big deal. Excuse me, that's
that it's
weird.
Not a big deal.
I'm not saying I'm not saying that it's not a big deal. I'm saying there's no reason to freak out
for hysteria.
Right.
Your local Costco shouldn't be lined up 3 blocks down the.
Well, and let me ask you. So here's the reason why I don't freak out about it, and I know this is the same case for Pastor Adam over here. The reason why I don't freak out about it is because I have a relationship with God, and in my relationship with God, I know that He has His plans, and this is part of the narrative, whatever it is. So even if the plan was to wipe us out, I would understand that God is a good God and He has His plans. And I don't presume to understand the end result of those plans. And if I need to be wiped out so that His will is fulfilled on this earth, okay.
Yeah.
I know that that's a harsh reality, but it's how I feel. It's what I think. What I don't understand is those of you who don't believe in God, why you're freaking out. and here's the reason why. If you believe in naturalism, if you believe in like a Darwinian, evolution, if you believe that, then
you're part of the process. Why are you?
You have no significance. Yeah. And I'm not saying that you're not significant. I think we all know that everybody. Well, we should all know that everybody is significant. But
he said, if you think this,
your worldview doesn't support the idea of your significance. But let me tell you what it does support. It supports the idea of survival of the fittest, right? And so you have this virus that is wiping out and not doing a very good job of it.
Let's not call it wiping out even.
But this is how people are treating it.
Sure.
You have this virus that is said to be wiping out infirm people, people who are old and have already contributed to society, and it's basically not touching young people. It's not touching people who are fit and healthy. Sounds to me like that's what evolution does. If you're not fit and healthy, then, it's just like what Adam said. It's part of the process.
Yeah, exactly. So if you want to celebrate that worldview, then celebrate it fully, man.
Yeah.
You can't be half in, half out.
Yeah. So I don't get, and I understand why. The reason why you claim your significance in the face of this virus is because, guess what? Deep down, we all know that we're made in the image of God, and we all know that we're significant, and we think that we should survive something like this. But if you are not a believer and you are freaking out about this because it is going to claim you, maybe you should come to grips with your morality and your mortality, and you should come to God and, confess and repent and believe in Him.
Yeah, another hard truth for people to consider, and would tell you that you're spitting in the face of people that are suffering or whatever, is that if you're suffering with something, so if right now it's coronavirus or maybe it's a chronic illness or a terminal illness or whatever, like
sure,
it's not so black and white in terms of good or bad, it's not 2 options only. Like there's a third option that God is using that for a bigger purpose, and a lot of times people have a hard time owning, like even believers is what I'm saying.
Right.
Have a hard time owning their role in that. Like they can't see past themselves. They can't see past their pain. They can't see past whatever it is. Like, there's someone in my life right now who, is figuring out maybe there's something wrong with them, and, it could be one of two things. But like one of the things that I hope she eventually will come to grips with is maybe that's, something God gave you, to use. And it's hard for people to hear, but it's true. Like maybe that's something that God is using, and you get to suffer for something bigger,
Right.
That's a hard one for people to swallow.
Well, in American society it is, but what's crazy about it is throughout the centuries there have been whole societies built on the idea of suffering for something bigger. Like it's an honor. And in American society, think World War II. Like people were trying to fight, to suffer for something that was bigger, to give their life meaning. Now we just don't do that. By the way, Pastor Dad Pastor Monty,
the other member.
The Truth Time with Pastor Monty icon. I don't know. He's saying that if we would like to call him, we could get his input.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to get him on the phone here.
I do have my phone.
But yeah, like it may like rub against your American senses to say that you want to live a life that means that includes your death in its meaning, but I just want to assure you that's an American sensibility. Okay, so don't impose your American sensibility onto truth. Like,
that's a good line.
There you go.
That's a good line.
Yes, don't impose your American sensibilities onto truth. Truth is what it is, guys. There are things worth dying for. And when you look at like our civil servants, for instance, who risk their life and limb.
There's a reason why they're, say formally were respected and, looked up to so much.
Right.
Yeah, it's because of the nature of what they do is bigger than themselves.
Yeah, don't talk out both sides of your mouth, like saluting the troops, hey, I appreciate what you do, and then be like, I have a right to not die for something. I have a right to only die for myself.
Let's call the old timer and get his hot take.
All right, let's call the old man.
He's chair bound right now.
Hello.
Hey, how are you doing? Can you hear?
The coronavirus took his hearing.
Hello. Are you there?
Hello?
Can you hear?
Adam just put his
speaker.
He just put his phone up to his headphones.
Oh, maybe I'll try to call one more time here.
Okay.
Speaker. I heard him for a second.
I know.
I'm guessing it's on his end.
Yeah.
Hello.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. How you feeling?
I'm fine.
We called to get your hot take on COVID.
Yeah, I'm listening to you guys. Well, you're advocating that it's okay for my wife and I to take it in the shorts and die?
No.
If you are an evolutionist, I think that it is.
Yes. No. We were very clear about that. If you hold that worldview, but you do not. So
I don't think it is, for the record. But if you are an evolutionist, then you would have no reason to complain against it.
Yeah, you said the elderly and infirmed.
Well, yeah, that describes you even outside of the evolutionist worldview.
Yeah. Okay. Like I said, I'm listening to you too, and I'm just very encouraged. I mean, it always disturbs me, and I hear a lot of it this week. It always disturbs me when people have lost their common sense.
Go on.
You know what I mean?
Go on.
We want to wait to see if we agree.
People, and they're fear-mongering, and they're quoting outlandish statistics, and I had one governor from Ohio, I think it was. I heard one governor yesterday with his doctor beside him talking about the fact that in Ohio they have 100,000 cases.
What?
And I'm like, what? And so when they were actually interviewed and pushed on that number, they said, well, we really don't have that. We only have 100 confirmed cases, but we kind of estimated and extrapolated, and we think the true number is somewhere around 100. So
Masters of arithmetic, huh?
Yeah. I mean, see that type of nonsense that makes people afraid.
Yeah.
And it is exactly that, nonsense. So, I think that's not helpful to people to be doing that type of thing. Mm-hmm. Is it something that, you should be concerned about? Sure. Is it something that you should take precautions? Sure. But, my goodness, they're closing Kate Brown came out and closed the schools statewide for 2.5 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I just picked up a lady this morning driving that was so excited. I think she was a lady. The name said she was a lady, but the voice kind of made me wonder. Anyway,
all right.
So she was so excited because she had a package of toilet paper that she had found.
She found one?
She had found toilet paper gold.
I would be excited if I found a package of toilet paper.
I wonder how much you could sell a 24-pack of toilet paper for on the secondary market.
Yeah.
Facebook Marketplace or something.
I don't know.
Price gouge.
She asked me if I take my payment if Lyft would allow me to take payment in toilet paper. I said no, but you could give me a tip.
I totally knew you were going to say that.
give me a roll of toilet paper for a tip. She laughed.
And she kept it, right?
Crazy. People are crazy right now. So here's the thing, and I agree 100% with what you and Josh are saying, that, as believers, as children belonging to the Lord, our trust is in His sovereignty, not the nonsense that we see going on.
Tell me what you think about this. Apparently there's a minister in Auckland, New Zealand, who claims that Christians that are, quote-unquote, blood-bought, born-again, Jesus-loving, Bible-believing, Holy Ghost-filled, tithe-giving are protected from the coronavirus.
Well, do you have to check off all those boxes to be protected?
Maybe.
That's the first thing that comes to mind. If we got all those boxes checked off, then maybe you have some possible recourse.
The larger question or point I'm making in that is, are there things that you're hearing as far as how pastors and ministers and churches are handling this that need to be put in check? Like in your consumption of the news and what you're reading and stuff, like, are you hearing things that are making you do a classic wow response?
I have yet to hear on the news, of course they don't interview ministers, but I have yet to hear anybody say as directly and as forthrightly as you and Pastor Josh that, listen, if you're a child of God, you're subject to His sovereignty, and if He wants you to die, you're going to die. And, that He be glorified somehow through the process. So, but that goes for all of life. What people don't seem to realize, of course, it's heightened with this nonsense, but what people don't seem to realize is we live in a very precarious world.
I can hear your wife in the background.
Okay, Lucy Brown is telling me don't say nonsense, so let me change that to bovine excrement.
Much better.
Wow.
Much better.
You know, the reality is that
It's tap dancing.
We're going to bring glory to Him through however we live, and the reality of it is that, you know, we need to live in such a way that it be glorified, but understand that we're all going to die. It's just a matter of when and how. So, from that standpoint, you know, I think what you and Pastor Josh were saying is an accurate take on how we should look at that. But as far as all the stuff that's going on culturally with, you know, games closing and stores closing and people hoarding stuff and stuff like that, you know, you just got to roll with it.
Amazon.
You know, I mean, yeah, you just got to roll with it. I'm still trying to understand the whole toilet paper thing. I think that some people think that you can use toilet paper for a mask.
Okay.
You know, like if you wrap it around your head like a mummy, you could breathe through and that would somehow protect you. I don't know.
All right. Well, thank you for giving us your hot take. Keep tuning in and feel free to comment.
Yeah, I'll end with this. You know, I've lived in primitive cultures, or in where there wasn't any toilet paper available.
I knew it was going there, and used your hand.
You do what you got to do. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. All right. Thank you. Feel better.
All right. Talk to you about it later.
Bye. So there's that. Thank you, Pastor Monty. So then, what should like the church's response be? Like, we just drafted our own response as a church, right?
Right.
Like, how does something like this threaten how we're called to live and how we're called to be, and the gathering of believers, for example? And well, like, what do you think is an appropriate response? And each church, I'm sure, will have a different response, and you know that's between them and God, or their leadership, you know. But what do you think is appropriate in terms of like handling this and doing right by this?
Well, I think that I think the mechanics are what's important. Well, let me rephrase that. I don't think the mechanics are important at all, but what I think is going to need to be addressed is the mechanics, if that makes sense, and specifically of running the shepherding. So when you're not living in crisis, things just kind of go as they go, you know, and you have systems set up and they run the way they run. But when people are living in crisis, and especially when people are voluntarily associated, you know, then you have to maintain the machine a little better when a wolf comes into the fold or whatever. So I can tell you, like, for our church, the things that are on my mind is not the spread of the virus. Like, we'll take that as it comes, you know? If everybody we already have machines
systems in place.
Yeah, we already have these machines
Sanitary,
in place to keep that from spreading. So, you know, you just be diligent about that. But the things that are on my mind is the old and infirmed. The people that I'm not laughing at people who are old and infirmed. I'm laughing at my father's response to me saying it earlier. So, you know, the 50-plussers, according to the virus's natural selection process. So I'm concerned about them and making sure that if they feel convicted that they need to stay home.
Yeah, and how you take care of them then.
How do we take care of them? Should we be, you know, helping them buy their groceries, for instance, so they don't have to go to the store, but we're doing more checking in on them. When we have Sunday services that include sacrament, like communion, are we making sure to involve them in that by, you know, bringing them, taking them communion? Are we making sure to telecast our sermons and stuff? I mean, here at ABF, we are
do that already, like you said.
Super competent.
Systems are already in place.
Right, we're super competent at using modern, you know, communication. So because of that, it doesn't affect us in that way. So, but are we making sure that they can access those things? I'm concerned about childcare because of the thing that's because the governor here in Oregon has basically said that schools need to shut down.
By the way, like, I get the impression, and I'm not, I'm not up on every state's policies right now regarding this thing or their responses, but is Oregon unique in that they, like, were maybe the first?
I don't know.
Like, because my dad sent me a message yesterday, like, whoa, what are they doing up there? Like, schooling, like, as
well, we're situated between two outbreak sites.
Yeah, Seattle and
Sacramento. I don't know, somewhere in California.
Okay.
So we're situated between two quote unquote outbreak sites.
Sure.
So yeah, and we have confirmed cases here. So
yeah.
And I think we had the first communally confirmed case. Isn't that right?
Really?
I thought so. Where it was community spread and not.
It wasn't Seattle. Like,
I don't know.
With the
in any case, we're here. We're here in a hotbed, so I understand why they want to contain the spread of it. So what's going to happen is there's going to be members of our congregation who are going to be forced to need childcare, and and that's going to put a strain on our populace in terms of money, right? Mm-hmm. And then it's also going to, but we have the ability to help out with that. So we're looking at ways to, even though we're already taxed and stretched thin in regard to helping with childcare, we're looking at ways to extend those services to people who don't normally take them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the immediate concern. I'll tell you what my long-lasting concern is. But do you have something to say?
Well, it's a question in regards to long-lasting, and like what we're talking about. But there's a term that's flying around and kind of viral in terms of being used called social distancing.
Yeah, totally.
That's really sprung up because of this whole thing. Like, do you think there's going to be long-term effects of that, like encouraging isolation? And obviously it's isolation because of this thing that's going on, but like, are people going to live their lives differently, like out of fear, do you think, because of this? Like, will it only devolve further into that kind of thing? Like we mentioned earlier at the top of the show, like these kinds of things aren't new. Like, you just look in the last 20 years, like, it comes up in different iterations or whatever, but the way we respond to it is different now, and it's unique now in terms of whatever, and social media, it plays a huge part in that. But the social distancing, like, are people going to, out of fear, start just living differently because they don't want to, because of things like this or whatever? Do you think there's long-lasting effects in this, like, philosophy that's like being pushed and pushed and pushed, like social distancing?
I think that we're going to trend the opposite direction. But I think that it's going to be in response. I think that there's going to be a call and response to sort of band together, to work like on a larger scale, on a macro scale, like for nations to come together to work on these things. I think that this is the beginning of a one world government.
Is this? I'm not a geopolitical expert by any stretch of the imagination, or even a novice. But are things, I'm not going to say being ignored because I don't believe they would be ignored, but are things sort of being put aside in terms of nation to deal with this thing? Like maybe
I think you have a bit of the enemy of my enemy is my friend sort of thing. I don't think it matters where the old and infirm stand on these things, because I think that the younger people who will be the lawmakers of the next generation are watching the responses of their political leaders, and they're going to start seeing that we need to act together in crisis. And I think that's going to be the call for the future. We need to act together in crisis, and we need to stop drawing these borders that we have, and look how the world was able to come together. Even corporations were able to come together to do something unprecedented. Like, do you know about, like, the 10 days ago they called together a bunch of like drug makers and so on and so forth? Yeah, the president, he gave an address yesterday where he let a lady speak. I can't remember what her name is, but she was just saying that it was invisible to the public, but 10 days ago, before he even, like he had said on Monday, so that was less than 10 days ago, like not to worry about it. Well, that's because like 3 or 4 days before that, there were already conversations between the White House and like medicine makers, essentially. Asking them to like find solutions and make kits more available and like streamline the process of working together and all this sort of stuff. So
he's saying that with a prior knowledge and privy to different.
Well,
things.
And she said it was like invisible to the public, but they needed to do that so as not to cause
hysteria
until they had a solution to present.
Yeah.
So, but then he talked about like other nations like also working on that too, and I think that sort of response is where we're going to go. So, do I think that there will be social distancing? Maybe physically, but not technologically and not in spirit. I think that those things are going to continue to mount and change that they're going to trend toward people coming together more rapidly and more passionately. And I think that they're going to gel around specific subjects of social justice. I shudder to think what is about to happen in terms of the government's ability to dictate what we do with our bodies. Like I think about vaccination. I mean, let's put it in perspective.
Before this whole thing, it was already going in that direction with schools, right?
Right.
You're sent home,
right?
You know, in some
right. They deny services. Put it in perspective. So Pastor Monty was talking about the 100 confirmed cases in what state was it?
Ohio?
Yeah, one of those breadbasket places. I don't even know if that's actually a breadbasket. I don't think it is. But in any case, that person was saying that it's actually like 100,000. That's what they estimate it to be. And I've seen that before, and that shows the concept that really shows the concept of a pandemic, right? Like it's way bigger than you think it is, but the mortality rate stays the same regardless. So the more people that are infected, the less people have died from it in terms of percentage. And I think that should give you an insight as to when you look at the percentages of death to not confirmed cases, but suspected cases versus something like influenza or so on and so forth. Like, I think you're looking at something that we will get through. I think you're looking at something, maybe come fall, we'll be through. But I think the lasting effect is going to be detrimental for freedom. I think the lasting effect is going to be, dictating, being able to say, you can't have churches that are bigger than this.
Interesting.
You can't have, you can't make decisions about your children's health.
Yeah, there's been things going
so on and so forth.
There's been responses, different governors and stuff, and our own governor, have pushed out their responses toward gatherings and that kind of thing. And I was asking myself the other day, because it really seems arbitrary.
Sure.
In California, it's no more than 500. In Oregon, I think it was 250 or something.
Yeah, it's 250. Yeah.
I'm wondering where they're getting the.
And there's a lot of people. There's a lot of
why 250 here, but why 500 here?
Right.
And what's the reason? It's the same. We're dealing with the same whatever. Maybe there's more
Well, I think it's a response to. It's like if you can. They don't want to hurt the population in terms of what it normally works with. Its normal function. But in the same vein, they also want to nip it in the bud as quick as possible. So and they could say 50, but they're not going to do that because it'd be too difficult. Did you hear that Disneyland is exempt from that?
Why?
They say
because
I was reading
that contribute to the Federal Reserve.
No, the dude, I can't remember his name, but he said that he was on the phone with Bob Iger all day, and
what dude was this?
I don't know, some official.
Okay.
And said
Bob Iger's not even the CEO.
I know, not anymore. But they had some sort of response where they basically said those situations are too difficult to navigate with such a unified law, because there's people's vacations and families have come out of town and so on and so forth. So you have to let them experience it on some level. So they need a much more sort of surgeon-based response as opposed to a blunt instrument response. I kind of get it.
Yeah.
I get the idea that it needs maybe more. I don't know if it.
Where do you draw the line with it?
Well, that's the thing. That's what you're saying. The line's arbitrary.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. place or this thing or this event or.
But again, these are things that we can't control. So the other day I went to see a movie, Onward, a Disney movie, and
Nice.
I went to see Onward.
They're still getting their money.
That's right. Well, but the Regal and I don't speak Spanish.
AMC was the other one.
Yeah, Regal and AMC, they cut their seating in half, and basically you can't sit next to each other more than two people, and you have to be like 6 feet away or whatever. But we ended up having the whole row because of it. So I can't control the situation, but I can enjoy some of the benefits of it.
Yeah.
Somebody posted in Spanish.
Ooh, we have Spanish
from
viewers.
Buenos Aires, Argentina.
Argentina.
And I don't speak enough Spanish to know, so hopefully.
It's wow. What? K is what?
Well, we got that.
What is it? Let me see it again.
I got it, guys. What's up, dude?
What's up, dude?
Okay.
Just wants to say hi.
What's up over here? Coronavirus.
Okay, I want to read you this excerpt.
Hey, you can just click see translation. Wow.
Thanks, Facebook. Okay, so
that's what my 6 years of Spanish got me in high school 20 years ago.
You can't even translate 4
25
words
years
that
ago.
says "What's up." That's all he was saying.
I knew it wasn't dude. Para is definitely dog. It's what's up, dog.
What's up? Oh, what's up, dog?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to read you this little excerpt from the nationalpost.com, and it's how coronavirus could change pop culture forever is the title of the article.
Yeah.
So we've talked about it in terms of, socially and all these kind of things. Let's talk about it pop culturally for the last 15 minutes.
Sure.
Give me your thoughts, and if you're listening, obviously I want to hear your guys' thoughts. But it says this, and bear with me, I'm going to read a couple paragraphs here. Although, of course, the delays and cancellations that continue to emerge are only temporary setbacks, the repercussions are difficult to predict. Whenever the flow of media production is somehow interrupted, there's a risk of audience attrition, as consumers, suddenly faced with the absence of a reliable source of entertainment, must look elsewhere to get their fix, and can find themselves irrevocably transformed as consumers in the process. These same kinds of disruptions, meanwhile, can subtly alter the landscape of pop culture itself, as writers, producers, executives, and artists struggle to adjust to volatile circumstances. The Writers Guild of America strike of 2007 completely changed the way that television was produced and watched in North America, bolstering unscripted TV while weakening the influence of primetime network dramas and sitcoms.
Heroes.
As coronavirus, as coronavirus fears stall many film and TV productions, which they have been, in case you haven't been paying attention, there are bound to be commensurate delays on the back end. Shows and movies that might otherwise have come out in due course over the next couple of years may be compromised in the process, and there's no telling how far that might span. Almost done. While the culture can certainly survive any one delayed blockbuster or canceled concert tour, South by Southwest, the sum effect of an entire season of canceled and delayed entertainment could be seismic. We could be looking at several months spent consuming popular culture exclusively in the privacy of the home, and the long-term implications of this habit-forming event are worth taking seriously. What will it mean for the year in movies if Cannes doesn't move ahead in May, or if TIFF, T-I-F-F, is scuppered in September? I don't know what that is. What will it mean for music if artists can't get on the road to promote an album? And what will it do to the tech industry if there's no Apple keynotes or tech conferences or there's no E3? A film festival, for instance, is also a platform for the sale and promotion of films that without that platform might never find an audience. Had Cannes been canceled last year, it's doubtful that Parasite would have gone on to be a commercial and critical hit. We are only glimpsing the beginning of this. It may mean more than we realize. What do you think? How is this going to affect pop culture moving forward? Are people going to, as I mentioned to you earlier, the line about habit forming, how we form new habits because something is not available anymore, and how it changes how we live and partake in things. Like, is there like a major?
I think that the author's behind the curve.
It's already happening.
Yeah, I think the author's behind the curve. I think that the fact that we have these things in our pockets and that we have streaming access to things, whole catalogs of things, is something that's been being fought by that establishment,
by mainstream
for a long time.
Yeah.
And so the one thing I would say that it might possibly affect is sports. That I could understand it actually affecting, but because that content is a different type of content. Mm-hmm. But we can pull through we're right now, our society in terms of pop culture is a nostalgia machine. So
yeah.
What we probably will see is a lot more advertising going into.
They're going to put The Office back on Netflix. They were going to pull it or something.
They're putting it on Peacock, and that launches real soon. So, yeah, I doubt maybe Netflix will try to
NBC streaming.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So I think that they're behind the curve. There's a reason why the movie industry, for instance, has had to adopt the subscription model, right?
Or
because people weren't going to movies.
Yeah, when Netflix is producing major blockbusters.
There's a reason why
no need to go
Netflix was trying to. There's a reason why the movie industry was trying to block Netflix from being able to obtain Oscars unless they did it in in movies. Why? Because people weren't going to movies.
That's a season 1 Culture Insanity poll. I'm pretty sure we talked about that.
So I think that the author's behind the curve and things like that. I think that people already prefer to be at home. What
about from the artist standpoint then? So you're talking from the viewer standpoint.
So from the artist standpoint,
the consumer standpoint,
it may affect the artist in terms of their bread and butter is touring, right? But in terms of distribution, no, not at all. In terms of distribution, it's like Taylor Swift doesn't have to, she doesn't have to go hawk her music out there. Like I don't think that the mainstream.
Do people still hawk things?
Yeah, totally. I don't think that the mainstreamed artists are going to be affected at all because they have an immediate platform for distribution. Okay. It's going to be the individual. Not the individual, the in-betweeners.
Yeah, the little guys. The point at the end, like the Parasite, the filmmakers there. Like it was a really small movie.
Right, but what's going to happen is the mainstream, because they need to make their money, is going to get better adept at pulling from the in between.
Those pools, yeah.
And then groups. They're not a social group. Companies like Netflix are going to get better adept at distributing. I mean, this is evolution in that standpoint.
So you don't think? So to summarize, you don't think there's going to be any lack of or negative production of art?
I think that there doesn't have to be. Well, okay, so I do think that new content will
struggle for a while.
Right? I've already seen that, a lot of the CW shows, because a lot of people don't like CW, but it's kind of awesome. A lot of the CW shows, like Flash, for instance, shut down production. The 100 shut down production. Supernatural, which is in its final 15th season, shut down production, and they're trying to figure out how to deal with that.
I thought am I thinking of a different show?
Final season.
The 100.
The 100. It's final season.
I thought that was an old show.
It's been on for 7 years.
It's still airing? I didn't know that.
It was a great show.
I had no idea it was still airing.
It's a great show.
I'm not a CW consumer for the most part though, but
right.
I had a shower thought this morning.
Okay.
So Vin Diesel's
#shower thought. Go for it.
Vin Diesel's new movie is out or is coming out?
Bloodshot came out
based on a comic book.
Or it comes out this week? It came out yesterday. I need to go see it. It's part of my Sony.
Yeah, your Regal thing. I had a shower thought this morning. That guy's haters are probably just laughing at him because he's got this big movie where he's the main star or whatever, and he can't even get full viewership to go to the movie theater because of this whole thing.
Right.
So
and maybe they'll spend less time in the theaters and more time in streaming, or maybe they'll bypass theaters altogether during this time.
Will read more. I tell you what.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of kids born in December and January.
That's what Pastor Monty says. Maybe we'll see more babies being made. So
now we're going to have population issues.
If people would read more and stuff like that. Pokemon Go, which I play for the record. You can look me up, Lucid Knight. You can be friends with me. Producer Jasmine's telling me that's a no-no. Okay, well that's... Yeah, I think you can. Oh, you got to get a friend code. Okay, you ask me for a friend code, and I'll give it to you. We can be friends. But Pokemon Go has changed they did a software update specifically to... Because that...
Does your guy walk around with a mask?
No, that's funny.
Dang
though.
it.
That'd be awesome if you could get a mask. That game is based on social interaction and going from place to place. That's why it's Pokemon Go. They changed their program so that you can still play it
By walking around your house a ton.
So you have to do less, like half of all of those things to be able to make it work.
That's interesting. Yeah, good on them for pivoting.
And Pokemon show up more frequently wherever you are. So there's I mean that's crazy when you have like even video game distributors.
Yeah.
You know.
I was reading an article that video game industry will boom because people are
I'm sure.
home and
I'm sure.
It'll be good for them. So all right, guys. Well, I tapped out my list here. We got about 5 minutes to spare. Any other coronavirus comments or Jasmine? Any thoughts on coronavirus over there?
Yeah.
Producer Jasmine says,
I want it to be done, so I can
She wants it to be done.
Here in the Portland area, it's kind of crazy, because we have the president. Like yesterday, the president declared a state of emergency.
Yeah.
And it snowed, which it shouldn't be snowing here in Portland during this time.
Yeah.
And the school shut down the night before, and all of our...
We lost an hour of sleep on Sunday.
Yeah, we're all tired, and if you go to the grocery store, it's like everything's gone from the grocery store, and nobody's out like walking around because everybody's afraid, or if they are, they're wearing masks. It feels like the beginning of The Walking Dead or something.
Straight up, yeah.
Or something.
I wish I had a... Oh, we got a few minutes left. I can do a little quiz on Josh.
Okay.
Outbreak movies and TV trivia.
Okay, let's see. I don't know if I'll do well on this.
I don't actually have anything prepared for you, but...
Okay.
Yeah. I lost my tab, so maybe not. Yeah, I don't know. Let's end it. All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in now and in the future. Thanks for contributing. Stay safe. Focus on God. What are we going to say?
I was just going to say, check out our new show on Thursday nights called Nightlight. Mm-hmm. It's Nightlight Radio, and we're just dealing with wellness issues in regard to like mental health and emotional health, and taking a biblical approach, a directive approach to counseling. So to giving advice. So if you have any questions, concerns in life, and you need like a problem-solving unit to help you figure that out, and you want just a direct way of looking at it, like you can check out Nightlight on Facebook. I think it's at Night Help is where you can find the page, at Night Help on Facebook. You can check that out, and you can post questions, and we'll be walking through questions. And it's also a call-in show, so you can actually call a number and talk to us. So check that out. That's on most Thursday nights, God willing that Corona doesn't wipe us out or something.
Yep. All right. Stay safe. Stay clean. Trust in God. Be productive and live your life. See ya.
The views presented in this program are not meant to express the specific views of the Aletheia Bible Fellowship. You are listening to the Vigilance Radio Network.